become an annual event. And you all know Carrie DeQuee, our Director of Business and Operations. We're at that point. It's sort of that lull between the Board of Ed adopting their budget, and then next Saturday, we present our budget to the Board of Finance. So this is really a good time for us to talk. I really just want this to be a conversation. I have slides prepared, and I brought our points of pride, which I've embedded into the presentation as well. But I think we're going to be in a really good position next Saturday when we go in front of the Board of Finance. Our budget does support the needs of our students, and I think that it helps us with our motto here, which is we're dedicated to continuous improvement. It helps us to improve in a lot of different ways. You'll see that this is primarily a proactive maintenance budget. There are initiatives that really just rely on the existing staff, rely on the people that we have currently in place. There are not a lot of requests for anything additional necessarily, except when you look at the capital budget. But this is really to make sure that we can support kids going forward in the way that we've been supporting them currently. So I thought, I'd run through this slide deck, but just stop me along the way so we can have a conversation. I won't spend a lot of time on the points of pride because I'll let you read through that. But I do want to point out a couple of numbers that you see here on the first slide. The class of 2025 and the classes prior to that, they have made such improvements in terms of how they're challenging themselves. They're taking more AP courses. More students than ever are getting a 3 or higher on those exams. So we've been in the 50% 2 years ago and 60% last year. Now we're in the 70s, 73% scoring a 3 or higher on the APs, and our SAT scores have improved. And just for a small comprehensive high school, really should be proud of the fact that the community can provide that personalized support, but also offer the wealth of courses that students can then engage and find their passions and interests. I want to encourage kids to challenge themselves appropriately. We don't want them to be overwhelmed, but those are good numbers, and we hope to continue to see that. I actually think that number 65% seniors taking an early college experience. I think that's going to be more with this current senior class. So then, I won't go into the athletics and the arts so much, except to say from an athletics standpoint, you probably can guess what I'm most proud of on that slide. It's not the championships, although that's great. 6 championships the last 2 years, but the sportsmanship award 3 years running, and the students, the leadership they're showing. We hadn't gotten that award since the early 2000s. So 3 years in a row, and we hope to keep that up. And then, of course, one of the best communities for music education, and the PTO has provided a lot of support. So has FAB in helping us get the resources. Advocate for those resources for the facilities, for the programs, for the staff, as evidenced by our orchestra program, our theater program. And then obviously the next slide, you see the tremendous investment the community has made in the facilities. The high school, I love to show off the high school, it's just such a such an inspiring space, and within that, programs such as culinary, the robotics programs, these specialized programs are amazing. And for the community as a whole, not just the students here, the turf, the track, stadium, really becomes such a focal point for us, not just on Friday nights for Friday Night Lights, but for just people who want to walk the track or just enjoy the beautiful campus. So what I want to do is I'm just going to cut to the chase, right? I mean, you might like those mysteries on TV, but I'm just going to cut to the chase on the next slide. So what does the budget entail from a high level view? Overall, with everything in the budget, we are requesting from the Board of Finance a 4.3% increase, and that includes operating, the medical, capital, and debt service. So, as you know, the Board of Ed approved the operating and capital budgets, and the Board of Finance has indicated to us that there's a 5% increase to medical. And so we've put that in here to show that increase. But from the standpoint of debt service, and you know, with the schools, the consolidated addition, and then the new high school, that number is now starting to go down. Terry closed out a building project at Meeting House recently with state. They're very far behind in closing out projects, but her and her staff worked on this weeks and were able to get $1 million back reimbursement. That has made that number that's in red, that number would have been in the black if it wasn't for that work. That number would have probably been a $200,000 increase, which actually became a $200,000 decrease. So overall, when you put all those components together at a 4.32 and compare that to where we are in Fairfield County, the average increase is 5%, and we're below that, and that's all in with all of our, requests.
With the medical increase too.
With the medical increase.
Yeah.
Yes. So you might have heard the Board of Ed adopted at 4.44. That was just for operating without the medical increase. It didn't include debt service. But when everything is together, that's where we are. And that's, compared to 2 years past, that is, streamlined number in comparison. So I'll just, let's talk about our kiddos here. Our K-12 enrollment projections, while the state of Connecticut has a declining enrollment, 2% this past year, declining enrollment across the state, and it has been declining. We're remaining steady and stable. New Fairfield is a destination town when you look at all it has to offer, in terms of the housing market, in terms of parks, in terms of the beautiful scenery. And so we have stayed around that 2,100 mark for the past 4 or 5 years, and we are projected to be at that level for the next 4 or 5 years as well. That makes budgetary planning, staffing very predictable. So what we're asking for in this budget is the same programs and services that we continue to enhance, have the same, move that same staff with some slight shifts in those resources moving forward. So overall, there is no change in the number of certified staff for next year. We're actually going to be a reduction of 2 non-certified positions overall. Same enrollment. But if we look at, as you know, every grade is, if we go to the next slide, a little different, every school. We're having an increase of 43 students in the elementary school. We're going down by 22 at the middle school, and we're going to be about the same at the high school. Overall, an increase of 18 students. And, every year, the grade bands shift. Some classes are bigger than others. And when you look at the next slide, anybody know why kindergarten is so much higher? 177 students in kindergarten. Those are the COVID babies that are coming. And so we haven't seen 9 sections in kindergarten in a long time, although we have had classes of 180 to 200 students in the past. So that's the projection. We think we're on target for that as we look at the number of registrations at this time compared to last year. The number of sections is the same, K-5. We have 42 sections currently, and the number of sections next year projected is 42. Now, if, for example, a grade goes past the Board of Ed guidelines and, we need to look at shifting the resource to address an additional section somewhere, we look at that. But right now, I'm very comfortable with these numbers. And, like I said, though, if, you see a significant increase somewhere, we try to adjust. Next one. So the story of this particular budget really comes down to some of the pressures we're seeing in special education requirements across the state, nationally. The percentage of students who need specialized learning supports has increased. We have increased in the past 5 years about a 20% increase in the number of identified students. And, the prevalence rate, you can see Connecticut's overall rate and our rate tends to be just under the state's prevalence rate. That's the total number of identified students as compared to your total population of students in the district, K-12. We're really seeing two trends. On the next slide, Carrie. We're seeing increased needs for behavioral support, intensive behavioral supports, as well as clinical mental health need. Students are coming in, I would say prior to COVID, we did not have as great a need, but you can see it's resulted in a number of outplacements. We have had, since last year, a 50% increase in the number of outplacements. And for a small district like ours, if we can, our hope is to educate all students within the district, have a variety of programs to meet those needs. When those needs are beyond what we can support, families will look for outplacements with us to meet the child's needs. We're at our high water mark of 21 outplacements. This is since the fall. We've gone from 14 projected for this current year to 21. And some of that's related to move-ins, students coming with existing supports and IEPs. That's where a third of our budget increase is coming from this increased tuition and transportation costs for outplacements. So we're looking for ways of how we can, continue to mitigate and support students in district. I bet there'll be a lot of questions about that, so we can circle back as needed. The signature initiative in this budget that we've been working on for a couple of years is middle school world language. So we are looking to shift to daily world language in 7th and 8th grade. And you probably, I don't know if you're aware or not, but 15 years ago, the district went to every other day world language. It has had an impact on outcomes at the high school level. Kids are not getting as far and deep in the language as we'd hope. So the industry, the educational standard, when you look at all, the districts in Fairfield County, I've listed a bunch there. That is actually the gold standard, that English, math, social studies, science, and world language, those are daily subjects. They're considered part of the core. And we know that, language instruction in a second language helps strengthen the primary language. So kids can see those overlaps, whether it's, listening, speaking, and writing. So we're thrilled about that. That's building off of, as you know, we went, phase one of this was in sixth grade. We added in sixth grade, uh, twice the amount of time because kids were taking half a year of Spanish, half a year of French. We had them pick. Sixth grade will remain every other day, but seventh and eighth grade would remain daily. It requires us to hire one additional Spanish teacher. But on the next slide, you can see how we did this in a cost neutral manner. We have built up our enrichment opportunities in the district. And so when you think of the arts, music, both within the day, outside of the day, robotics, video production, that the need for the half a 0.5 enrichment at the elementary school and at the middle school are not necessary, particularly at the middle school too, because we've made scheduling change. It just doesn't fit in that way anymore. Plus, we have Jeff Giuliano at the elementary school who's providing enrichment to all students through STEAM. Same thing, we've got that STEAM thread all through the school. So we felt very comfortable with that trade-off. And based on IEPs, we have 2 fewer para-educators. So that's the change, only changes in staffing we're recommending.
I have a question about the enrichment. So at the elementary, they're gonna go to every other, what is it, third, fourth, fifth? And then what's happening? Like,
No, the elementary.
Because it's not,
They'll see.
it's the talented and gifted, right? Is that the enrichment is?
No. Talented we call it the REACH program,
Yeah,
is not being touched.
okay. Like STEAM. Oh, it's like STEAM and stuff like that. That's what I was,
So our REACH teachers had half their schedule was talented and gifted.
right,
The other half, to make them whole,
right.
when we were coming out of COVID, was to, okay, you might take these kids, some math enrichment or some,
Got it.
right? So,
Right.
so there will be there'll be one REACH teacher who will service grades 3 through 8.
Okay.
Oh,
So how are, so
wait.
some of the kids aren't, so the CAG kids aren't gonna have reach every day.
So that'll, whatever the schedule is, that continues.
For like the STEAM side enrichment. Or like down the hill, they used to have it, like I know up in the middle school, it's every other day. But down on the hill, they used to have like science one day, math one day, but maybe some of that was enrichment, not, it's the same teacher, but
I think
the
that,
similar kids were being
right,
pulled.
the
for
takeaway is REACH is not being touched.
Okay.
REACH will continue.
Because those kids.
The self, exactly, because just like we talked about, needs of students with learning disabilities, students have specialized learning needs as gifted students. They need a self-contained class with their peers, right? Because they exhibit behaviors that, I think the teacher works on. They like to debate. They are perfectionists. I mean, they want to have the floor.
They want us to have those challenges.
And they need that challenge.
Instead of that, I can't.
We have work to do on the program, from a curriculum standpoint. Dr. Wallach has been moving around the different areas of curriculum. This is one that, we have as a priority to work on.
Just to piggyback on that, just so I understand, so you said that there's gonna be one STEAM teacher or one REACH teacher for grades 3 to 8. I know like currently with the middle school being on leave replacement, the elementary teacher was there like every other day, got a little crazy. Is that how it's going to be moving forward?
Well, that's how it's scheduled. It is an every other day program at the middle school,
Okay,
where it's a full period every other day. That's not changing.
okay. So
Um,
what about the elementary level? Because like,
Allison would be better able to talk schedule at the elementary. But the number of, ensuring this, the number of minutes that students have had with their gifted teacher is important. Making sure we do that.
I feel like last year they were seen
They
every
did make-
day,
they
but
made
then this
some-
year
They
were-
made some adjustments.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Um,
so talk with Allison.
I would say we can have Allison explain more at a PTO meeting or, if you have specific questions. So as I mentioned before, our drivers for this budget are really the contractual increases and they're the sped mandates and requirements. So 30% of the $2.3 million increase resulting from, as I said, we have tuition increases, transportation increases for outplacements, but the rest of it is very streamlined in terms of those are the contractual obligations for our teachers, for other bargaining units, things like transportation, oil, energy, all of those costs. So we have really combed every account in the budget in order to come in, with I think a very fiscally responsible budget, but one that, we really can work with. So that's operating. I'm gonna move on to capital unless you want to talk a little bit.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Yeah,
Since we're asking
that's
questions, one last question about going back to the K-5 class size projections.
Yep.
So if K is going to be so huge next year, how are we maintaining the same number of sections if that was so big? Are the other ones,
Yeah,
are the other
so-
classes getting a little bit bigger than they are currently?
No, what happens is as grades move up, the class sizes at K and 1 are smaller,
Yes.
right? So we need more sections there for the number of students, but as a class may move through, let's say like second grade, class size moves from 18 to 20 to 20 to 22. So we try to stay within those and so staying within those guidelines, depending on the size of the cohort, and each cohort is different.
Well, what this slide doesn't show is that we move sections a little bit. So, the teacher might go back down to kindergarten then next year, that kindergarten teacher, we might drop a kindergarten section and move it to first grade to.
Right, yeah,
to maintain-
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I know mine's in one of those bubble years, so
Yeah.
my youngest one.
We may need, at the elementary level in a couple of years, need to add a section based on where kids are, right? The elementary school is probably going to be seeing a slightly higher enrollment than some of the other grades, like the middle and high school.
Oh, wait, I had a couple questions.
Sure.
Just the 99% graduation rate, the AP classes, do we track students once they leave school? How well do they graduate before years of college, 5 years?
We do. Kim Laughlin, our Director of School Counseling, we can get that information in terms of that percentage. I think it's a five-year.
5-year graduation rate.
Yeah, but I don't have it off the top.
Oh, no, that's fine. I just didn't know if the district was seeing how well they're.
Well, that's the thing. It's not just getting kids into college.
Yeah.
It's what are the outcomes
Yeah.
afterwards.
They drop out after 1 year.
Right.
And then the outplacements,
Yes.
there's 21 students as of late. And I think I saw on your budget sheet, it was like $4.5 million in outlays we had, including transportation costs.
So for all of the students, Carrie, can you speak to the number? The total
Oh.
cost, our increase
yeah.
in that line is 1.3 million for next year. But what's the total number for outplacements?
With transportation, I think you're right. It was in the four, yeah.
4.8,
Little-
something like that.
yeah,
5
yeah, little-
cares at that.
Yeah, but we also do receive an excess cost grant.
Okay.
That will, the state does, well, I don't fully fully fund their mandate.
Been up late.
Yeah, I am exhausted. They do give us some reimbursement, so we're anticipating to receive 1.2 million in state funding, but part of that will go to the town first, and then we'll get around $850,000 to help absorb some of these costs.
Is that different than the IDEA from the
Yep.
federal and state?
Yes.
But that was like half.
Yeah, so and that is in our operating budget. Actually, we use that on special education staff, the ELC staff. We use the IDA funds for that.
That offsets that.
This number could double in a year though, right? We have no idea who moves into town and.
It's a volatile number. It
Yeah.
can go down.
Yeah,
It
it
can
could
go
change.
down.
Okay.
It can go up. We are building, enhancements to a program at the high school. We're calling it a bridge program. We're piloting it right now. It has contained costs. We would have had additional outplacements if not for providing some therapeutic services at the high school. We had a social worker at the middle school as a long-term sub, maternity leave, who we kept and tried this, and it's already, that's paid some dividends. Because we also have to worry about kids who are avoiding school, and sometimes you have to get contracted services in order to do some of that social work to try to get them back to school. This long-term sub has helped us with that as well. So we're exploring a program at the elementary school too, because if we can, our priority is to educate students here as long as it's safe and appropriate. But sometimes we just don't have the programs and supports.
Are the outplacements of those 21, are they evenly distributed K to 12, or is there a majority elementary, majority high school?
No, it's pretty evenly distributed, yeah.
No,
Yeah,
I
so
didn't know about I didn't know about the other source of funding. I thought the state was just giving us 500,000 for.
No, I mean, there's an educational cost sharing grant that goes directly to the town. That's about 3.5 million. 3.5 million that goes directly to the town. They take that as revenue.
Okay.
It's revenue for the town. So really, when you think of the total cost of education, when you factor that in, the taxpayer, it's less when you just think of education. But that's something that comes in on the town. The excess cost is, it's a grant that fluctuates. So we pay essentially the first $100,000 of any outplacement we would pay. Then any dollar amount over that, let's say another 100,000, let's say it's 200,000 altogether for tuition and transportation. The state will only pay us 68%.
This is per student.
Per student,
Okay.
right? So let's say out of a $200,000 total outplacement, we're paying the bulk of that, minus 68,000 in a reimbursement. So
It's based on your wealth as a town, right? So in prior years, we were, just under, a certain number, so we received, I think, 72%. Well, now we're in the top tier, so we only get this 68% right now. So, and it's really just, it's hard to, because there's one bucket of money that everybody in the state gets, and everybody's facing the same challenges. So, it isn't necessarily like you're getting 68% this year, but maybe next year we'll get 65, or maybe next year we'll get 70. It really depends on the budget from year to year with the state.
Yeah.
So,
Are you seeing that a lot of people are moving into town because of the special education in our schools? I feel like clearly on the parent page, right? A lot of
everywhere I've
people,
been,
Come in.
I hear that narrative everywhere I go. In Fairfield County.
Okay.
So it's hard to say. Maybe that's, a realtor might have a better sense of that, but this particular year, we did have more students with outplacements come into district into district.
Are these numbers comparable to other area towns?
Yes, the 14 was phenomenal in terms of that number. And you can see just that change in 1 year.
Just on like Billy was saying it too, I think that, when it comes time to, put your gloves on, I think that this particular cost should really be conveyed to the people in general, because it would be like when we're fighting for, that, kind of social workers or mental health, people in the school, which people don't seem to want to pay for. But that, like you said, it paid off, and because we have to spend so much more than the cost of, somebody's salary, to pay for a student to go out someone else, so.
And 2 budgets ago, we added a school psychologist and a school counselor. That was sort of our
Yeah.
mental health investment at that time. And I feel like a lot of the investments that we have made in our tenure here is, we both came in 4 years ago, has really been restoring things that have been in place. The library media center specialist at middle school, the counselor at counseling at the high school. Psychologist was really a growing need that we had. You know, in the arts as well. The orchestra was in place years ago, and now it's coming back, and we've invested there. So, we're like the restoration hardware. But no, in a, 2026 way. So, anyway, we also have some capital information for you. And the middle school, as you might imagine, is the school that needs the most love. It is over 30 years old, the facility. And it does not have sufficient facilities for music. They are benefiting from having 2 cafeterias because they've taken over the old high school cafeteria as their primary cafeteria. And now chorus and general music are just in this big open space at the, where the existing cafeteria was. Our goal is with this investment to have that room partitioned into 3 units: orchestra, chorus, general music, sound dampening in the room, have the storage facilities they need. And while we were able to get orchestra out of the hallway last year to one of the small classrooms in the basement,
They love that, by the way, let me tell you,
it was like a badge of honor, right?
It was 6, 7, 8.
I don't know how we got away with it with the fire marshal. But, we made do with what we had, and right now they're making do with just a regular, smaller than a normal sized classroom. When you think of like Boeing, they need more space. So, that's the primary investment in this.
Partitions, is that gonna be floor to ceiling partitions?
Yeah, floor to deck, so that the sound.
Yeah.
And there's actually one of the walls is a double wall. And I've learned a lot here. It's cricket. The architects say you're supposed to have for acoustics. It's not, yes, it's on an
Yeah,
angle.
I'm a music teacher, so that's why I'm particularly.
I don't understand why, but
Ah.
it's.
I stick with the elementary where they're not
Okay.
so cute.
We're excited about this because we think that the middle school for many years to come will then have the space it needs. With the 4 classrooms recaptured last year, and we've moved those offices and built some offices out of a long hallway at the entrance to the old high school. Central office will be moving in to those offices and give back 2,000 square feet to the town come July 1st. And we did that on no new taxpayer dollars, which we're proud of. So you have to be there for the opening. So in addition, so there you said the cafeteria. The other, there's some serious issues with our middle school roof. And on our slide deck, as you move through, you could see where we've had patches on the roof. We have leaks. You can see the ceiling tiles. The area that is most affected, I don't know, do we have it here?
I'm not sure. Oh, that's the doors.
Yeah. Not all areas of the middle
Oh, this
school.
right here.
Yes.
That's what you're looking for. Got
If
it.
you look at this slide, over 30 years old, 32,000 square feet of roof, is that? Yep. We're out of warranty. We're chasing leaks. We fix them in one place. they pop up in another. So the areas in red need to be replaced as soon as possible. We think a phased approach to the roof, knowing that we cannot do a middle school renovate as new right now, but we do need to have the security of making sure that we're watertight. So we're in the process of exploring what those costs would be, what that phased-in approach would look like, and that would require a bond. That is not something as part of a capital improvement plan we'd be able to do. Now, certainly nothing to the level of the high school or the addition, but you are talking in a seven-figure bond.
Ken is most passionate about happy about the music classrooms. I'm most happy about the feasibility study to get this done. Because it's problematic and we don't, I unfortunately came in, Ken and I both came in when everybody just moved out of cons. And, everybody says we don't ever want that to happen again. And that roof literally fell in, I think, 3 months after everybody got out. So we really want to address this. I'm excited about addressing it because it's just, I know this is a really great building. I worked with, with Phil for a long time and he's always said the bones are really good in this building. It is a candidate for just really maintaining it and fixing it now that these things are at the end of their useful life. So, and as Ken said, we know the phased approach and that's why we went with the feasibility study that was just talking about the things that, they're not necessarily, oh, look at my new roof, but but they're the things that matter in the building that keep us safe and keep it going. The roof, the mechanicals, the HVAC, the doors, the windows, so. And the light green here is in good shape. We would like to see what comes back with the feasibility study. But if we had to, we would just address the red and then do a phased approach. Obviously, it makes the most probably fiscal sense to do the whole thing, so we're on the same replacement schedule. But that's to be determined.
Yeah, and at the same time, if we're addressing the roof, you need to look at the HVAC at the same time. The middle school, especially that second floor, we do not have air conditioning and we do have students who are medically fragile come through the system. We have these portable units, floor units that are vented to the windows on one team in 6th grade. That's going to need to move to 7th grade. There may be kids coming in 6th grade there's an added noise in the classroom when that happens. So I think with this study, it's important to find out what those costs are, because when you replace the roof, that's the time to deal with the units on top. The next one, the door.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
We'll go to the doors first. Let's talk about the doors.
Okay.
So this, we've had plenty of examples of this.
This was before the blizzard too.
That's right.
Well, you missed the snowman that had the sign that said on strike that the ladies put in it. So.
You can see where at the base of these doors, it's rotting and, there are 25 double doors, sets of double doors around the entire middle school, which now encompasses, parts of the old high school, right? And you think all the way back to the pool, right? Such a large building. We have a 2-year replacement plan where we replace 10 sets of double doors this summer. And the following summer, we replace the 15 remaining. So we can do that within a capital project. It's about 15,000 for a set of double doors. And so we think that makes sense because some of them can be a little, tight in spots or loose, and you see the rotting. And it becomes you want to make sure your doors are always secure. So important safety issue.
And it's cold. It's not very efficient, when it comes to heating, so.
150,000 includes like a security tie for card readers and electronic locks and stuff.
There are we use what we have for existing, that does not include and not every door has a swipe too, so. It doesn't include the swipe.
Our main entrances, they all have those swipes. And,
Yeah.
as you've seen, we have the there's a better word for man trap, right? With the vestibules,
Yes.
which have the swipes on those double doors.
These double doors are all exterior double doors?
All exterior. There's some single doors in there too, but within all this, most of them are double. We just did, yes, yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. Um. So we have a couple of sports related improvements. Um, I dealt with an issue. Does anyone have a football player?
No.
I won't spend a lot of time on this, but the mold issue, the mold question came up. And we had to do some testing. In that locker room, we had the beginnings of a mold condition. This is right adjacent to that pool area and for the bottom floor. We came in, we added more dehumidification, because this is really, it's like in a basement type area. We have planned more ventilation work in this area and air purification, as well as some general cleanup. I mean, those lockers, a lot of them are not functional anymore. We are talking with the boosters to see if we can take this contribution, work with them, see if we can really spruce this up. The next one. We're gonna talk about bathrooms. Okay,
I think that's what we have.
all right.
Okay.
Again, the middle school, this is,
Not really painting the middle school in a good light.
Son's going to middle
these
school.
are forgotten parts of,
On behalf of the middle school.
I should say, there are a set of bathrooms at the middle school outside, the locker rooms, the gym, right, that they use, that are just fine. They're functional, they're clean, they're not leaking. These are the ones near the old high school gym. Right? They're near the landing, near the pool. I mean, there's just, we keep those buckets there all the time. The tile, we're worried, we have tile that is coming up in places.
And the partition is coming off as well, like this partition here is really off the wall. You can't really see it in the picture.
So we have 3 bathrooms that we're looking to address.
It's gonna be great.
Yeah.
But these aren't the bathrooms that they use like.
All 3 bathrooms for
Wow.
$50,000.
They're-
No.
Okay.
Well, the improvement.
Oh,
we're
that-
looking to make.
Okay.
Yes,
I mean,
yeah,
it's
they
not a
do,
lot.
yeah, heavy
No,
lift
that's not-
traffic
that's
on
not
the
the-
weekends.
We're looking at other
And
funding
they-
sources to
they're
help us.
probably-
But I mean, the idea is our
Yeah.
bathroom
They'll be
needs
bathrooms.
support and the financial
Those offices,
contribution,
yeah.
just trying to look at all. the
Not
needs.
deep.
Okay.
If we can put that towards it, we can make a lot of headway.
There's one right out that area.
Gary?
Sorry.
No, that's all right.
This is just the one.
Oh.
with the black.
That was it.
Okay,
No, no, I know, it's, yeah.
so if we go back to, Yep. so just closing out, if we come back to the total budget. Again, I mean, I think you can see, capital is, we try to each year come with a comparable capital proposal. I think if you're talking the $600,000 to $700,000 range, every year, if you're coming in at that level, so you're not seeing a big increase or decrease, you could stay up with the educational needs. But the big, thing we have to plan for is that roof. But anyway, we have our Board of Finance meeting next Saturday. There'll be Wednesday meetings every week in March with the Board of Finance to review the budget. Their final markup is actually during the week of the school vacation calendar. So many of you probably might not be around. Yeah.
Hopefully on Zoom.
I don't know. I think it's in person
Are they now all
Yeah.
in person?
Yeah.
Okay.
for the most,
Fun.
all of them in person.
And they might have one, I mean, I think
Yeah.
that they're trying to
They
do
didn't like us
mostly in
doing
person.
They didn't like us in person that time, so I don't know.
So, this is just an overview. I mean, all the documents, PowerPoints are online under our budget section. But if you're hearing, PTO has questions and concerns, let us know. We have a Board of Ed meeting next Thursday ahead of the Board of Finance meeting. We do a brief budget update and probably won't be very high level, but we're optimistic and working with the Board of Finance that it'll be a productive conversation. We start on that Saturday and we go from there.
If, in the chance that they do not immediately say, wow, this is incredible, approved, what are your anticipations of like what's going to be the first thing to kick off of that? Or have
Well-
you not even gotten there yet?
I mean, when we think about last year's budget, it passed by, anyone know? 18 votes. The education budget passed by 18 votes. It was significantly higher, the overall budget, because of the medical increases and debt service. We're starting the conversation with the Board of Finance, probably between the town and the schools at about half the overall request. So last year, between the town and the schools, started between 10 and 11% increase. It came down between 7 and 8, and that's what went to the voters. And it was a tough sell last year. And so this year, we're coming in at 5.8 between the town and the schools are 4.3. Overall, it's a 5.8 coming into the Board of Finance. So from there, they're working from a better place. So what they think we can afford, if they take a shaving from our budget, I can stay away from staffing. If they take chunks, I'm going to have to look at programs and staffing, because it's not like I can go take from the mandates and requirements that we have from, like from special education. It will come from, other areas. But we're still looking at the budget. We're, trying to figure out if that happens, where would we go? But there's only so much, because we try to come in, just, this is what we need, and not try to ask for, it's needs-based. It's not, they're, we don't have wants necessarily in there. There are a lot of, things that we would have liked to have put in. We've held off. We need additional math support. In the next year's budget, that's what would be coming in with in the following year, but we couldn't do everything all at once this year. The special education increases just kind of emerged. Unexpectedly.
Kids are we gonna get from Sherman this year coming in?
It's fairly, you would know this, fairly comparable.
No, we're only gonna get incoming freshmen. I think we have 5 coming in.
And so not as much as
The
last.
total was last year we only had, I think the total is 26. I think I'm anticipating 30. Actually, no, I think we're at 31 for next year. I think I anticipated, right, with the ins and outs. So I think it's a very small graduating senior class right now. So with the influx.
Our class is small?
For Sherman.
Yeah.
Oh.
We
For
bring
sure.
in about $500,000 in revenue for the town. And that helps, reduce the overall
Town or
budget.
School,
Town.
town gets that money.
Yeah.
Which I don't, still don't get it. I still don't get it.
Well, last year.
It's a hot button. Last year, yes.
The transportation.
We're
trying
trying
to figure this out.
25. And I was not a big class. I was a smaller class.
So then Madison's class is smaller.
Go through the motions and then.
Yeah, so we only have like 2 graduating Sherman kids, I think. I have the number, you just asked me.
They
Oh,
always
thank you.
seem to feel like they're going in.
I'm too old now. My dad doesn't put me to sleep. He's not.
Does anyone who's on Zoom have any questions? We'd love to have them if you have any.
So the education, there's a page in the budget book education revenue. And
Okay.
it lists each source and where it gets applied. Does it get applied to the school budget or does it get applied as revenue for the town? Now, in the end, the bottom line for the mill rate is unchanged. But there have been, in terms of transparency and how, the revenue comes in or gets applied. We're not in the business of generating revenues. That's not our mission, but we do have this source that many other districts don't have, which is the Sherman opportunity.
So it's 28 to 31 for one, because we have 3 graduating seniors, so.
Oh,
and
okay.
6 income, so yeah, 28.
It is a small class.
Yeah.
But we have, as a result of that, we do
Everyone.
carry an $80,000 transportation
From.
increase, not increase, cost.
When you were.
That's the result of, this benefit.
Who's that tuition for Sherman?
It's, we
189
negotiate it every 3 years. We're in the second of a 3-year agreement. So it's a member of the Board of Ed, administration. We may next time invite the Board of Finance to be a part of it because we charge of the
Maybe I'm just.
3 high schools they can go to, the 3 towns. We have the highest cost. But it's not as high as our per pupil expenditure. We're in the market, we have to, where we are in the market. I think we're well positioned. We're about 16,000 for Sherman tuition. 16,500. That's higher than Chappaqua. That's higher than, where's the other place? New Milford.
Spending 20 a kid?
We spend 22.
20, so we're losing money on Sherman.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we're,
Not really, because it's not, so the way, when you're in high school, it's not like it's not a 1-to-1 ratio, right? You can have 25 kids in your class or 30 kids in your class, it's not gonna change the FTE, right?
so if you have an airplane, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the airplane's, half full, right? It's still gonna cost to run that plane, what it costs in terms of fuel. Same thing for the district. And if we're able to take in, 5, 10 students, freshmen, each grade level, the plane, we're not losing money as a result. We're gaining. If we were to charge 22,000, Sherman would say they have a real big problem on their hands too. I think a lot of parents, they want this option to come here, but they may find it, say financially, we can do better by just saying we only are going to send them to these other schools.
Or they say,
Fine.
they say, they used to years ago, it's a designated high school, you don't have a choice. Like, that's what Kent does, right? Kent says all your kids go to Housatonic, you don't have a choice. And they could do that. It's like we outpriced ourselves, we would lose $500,000 in revenue. And then we would ultimately, they would ultimately maybe make a deal with New Milford to get all their kids for
Yeah.
X.
And it
you know.
doesn't change your budget requirements.
In terms of,
Your ask for your operating budget.
No, I mean, just the only cost that we carry is the bus, because we provide transportation, but when you're comping with other districts that they send to, our tuition is a little bit higher due to that.
I
Yeah.
do want to look at our next negotiation. When you look at our facility, I'd like to see if we can apply that facilities fee. Because we have a brand new high school and just what it offers. So maybe, you're usually seeing about a 3% increase each year.
Yeah.
With Sherman tuition, and then any special education costs on top of that, need to be paid by the sending town.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's really a flat rate if your child needs special education services, like I'm talking, something that, again, doesn't change our bottom line that we already provide.
Right.
But if your child maybe needs a 1-to-1 para, that cost would be passed on to Sherman and they would pay
Oh, okay.
us, for that cost. If it,
In that case, do they pay the school or is it still paid the town?
Does that come in?
Well,
That's a direct offset, isn't it?
yeah, the flat rate goes to the town that we charge just if you have services. But if it's above and beyond and say they need a 1-to-1 para, I would put that money into the special education budget. I'd put it back in.
What if they need outplacement?
that's Sherman.
That's on them. Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if we take them and then spend 200 grand to send them somewhere else.
No,
Okay.
that's,
No, that's not our cost.
Okay.
And you, and it just, and you bring that, so we also, the Board of Ed has a policy related to residency. And if someone is not living within the boundaries of New Fairfield, we have an active process to address that. And we have, we have, it has gotten better. It's still, I mean, you would be surprised. People will use addresses, they'll, give us information, and we have to really track it down, run it down in order to, ensure that these applications are valid. If you have like a relative living here and someone's using a host affidavit, but they're really not living, it's, we've gotten a lot better, but it's still, it takes up a lot of time. And, sometimes, we're going into residency hearings with the board, and families are asking for those hearings, and they're being very bold when it's very clear that they're not living in town.
You know how many people we graduated with?
Their
Whose parents live here?
Oh, maintaining staff, like, does it look like, I mean, there were a few years there where the staff just was like, I don't know if I got a job next year, so
I
I'm just
think,
leaving,
yeah,
you know,
so-
like that.
So last year, the fact that, what was it? It was approved in April, before the end of April, the budget was approved.
Yes,
We were able to hire early, and we had a number of openings last year because we had a lot more retirements. We only have 3 retirements for the coming year. And so, of that, I mean, we had an amazing class of teachers that came in. I anticipate that we're gonna maintain those. We did just have a teacher early in her career leave the high school for relocation, personal reasons, but I mean, those things happen. 3 retirements, who was asking? Which-
Yeah, who are?
It's public,
I'm just nosy.
it's public information. It's an English teacher at the high school, Noel, Grimberg. We have a special education teacher at the high school, Jenny Golick. And then a kindergarten teacher, Dawn Wright.
good for her, she likes her.
Makes sense.
So that actually, I'm glad you brought that up, because in this budget, Carrie will start, every business manager's nightmare, will start on July 1, if this passes as is, we'll have $150,000 deficit to start the year for something called turnover savings. So there used to be this thought that, you would be able to hire significantly lower for new teachers when those at the top of the scale retire. That really depends on a number of factors. If it's a physics teacher, the chances of you hiring a physics teacher right out of school, probably gonna be very hard. It's a shortage area. Special education teachers, very hard to find. So it's not like you have, let's say you have these 2 great candidates and one of them's early career. You're not necessarily getting those choices. And with only 3 retirements, my prediction in the amount of teacher turnover savings we get is probably at the $50,000 range. We have budgeted $150,000. I don't think we're gonna make that mark. We didn't make it when we hired 25 teachers this past year, and that number was what, 200,000? Each year we've been drawing down turnover savings. And we want to budget turnover savings for actuals. Like right now, I would say to Carrie, based on our retirements, let's put X number in. So, we brought this to attention, but we just haven't been able to draw that down all at once, because otherwise it's going to be an increase to the budget. So we just try to manage that as best
It
we
used to
can.
be 300.
Used to be 300.
You start out in the hole, $300,000.
So each year we're drawing that down by 50,000, and then each year, because whenever we have retirements, if they let us know early enough so that we can hire, there's a $7,500 retirement incentive. They tell us by February 1st. So we have to factor that in. So right now, we've got $22,000 in retirement incentive that the budget has to carry.
It'd be nice if we didn't have it because it would help us in the budget process if they did take the incentive when we get to the. If we get to the goals with the Board of Finance, right, we'd be like, oh, we have this retirement, it could help us potentially.
So when we come back to your, question, when we look at potential cuts, that's why we're so close to the vote as it is as well. There's no wiggle room. But, we understand that they have to look at all of the factors and we'll advocate strongly. And if there are big chunks that they're looking to address, I'd ask, the PTO to come out, for the educational system, the programs and services, what you value. So
Where would you like us to be at all these finance, Board of Finance meetings, or when would you like us to start showing up and?
stay informed as to how things are going and, let your voice be heard depending on what you hear. And I think the biggest thing is when it comes time, getting closer to that final markup and we're getting closer to when the referendum is, that's when,
So we don't need to go next week, in other words.
I think you can get that on TV.
Okay.
Fine.
Dr. Craw, and I think that this is probably more for Carrie. One of the parents asked, I would assume the capital improvements budget estimates have contingency built in with the hopes not all of that contingency is spent and the projects have a chance to come in under the estimates. Is that right?
They are just estimates right now, I think that we're pretty good on the feasibility study, so I think that's a good number. The doors, it's a good number, I think that we will come in around, I don't think that. I'm not baking in fluff in any of this budget, including the capital budget, so,
Some of those numbers are contributions, like
Yeah.
for that locker room, for the bathroom, for the baseball scoreboard that doesn't work. We're looking for monies from other areas or donations. So if anything, those numbers aren't necessarily as high as they could be if we were trying to address it all at once.
Okay.
yeah, so no, there's not a big contingency built in. When I did the oil tank last year, I did build in a contingency just because you're dealing with an underground oil tank, so you
Yeah,
need to build in something. These projects, I really didn't, if we come in lower, that'd be amazing, but we did have some actual quotes in hand that we used to build the capital plan, so.
And one of them said $15,000 per set of 2 doors seems pretty high.
It is, it's crazy.
Um,
The crash bar itself is I think over $1,000.
Got it.
So yeah, it's very expensive. Yeah.
What's the average cost per student in the district?
22,000.
Yeah, just under 22.
Just on capital, is it possible to sort of flatten capital project fee and then keep rolling it over? Like if we move that number to $1 million, this way next year you don't have the access for $750, and then the next year you have the access for $550, and then $950, and then. Are you
Yeah.
allowed to roll money like that?
Yes, you are.
Okay.
You're allowed, if you do have, as was asked, you can,
Okay.
keep that money in that account. And let's say, we had some money left over, you can even use some of that money. You can create a line for sped overages. So if in the future, the state has now allowed you to go even just beyond the physical, improvements, that you can create a line for other needs. If you have, let's say, unexpended funds at the end of the year, even from your operating budget, you can move those into. Now, we had this past year $60,000 of unexpended funds. You think of like a checkbook of a $50 million budget, that's like pennies left in the end. But we took that $60,000 and we are going to apply it to our special education deficit this year. I mean, it's small in comparison, we're probably looking at a $400,000 deficit for special education after excess costs for the additional outplacements that we have. So we have to go back to the town for that. Our cap and non-count won't address that.
Okay. Yeah,
But yeah, you can just roll it over.
just set it at $1 million, just you don't have to I'll come to us.
Believe me, exactly. So
Because what if we don't approve the doors next year? Half the doors will get
Right.
changed and
Right, is that built in?
no, I'd have to ask for it again.
Yeah.
But we've built a 5-year capital improvement plan. This is year 3 that we're requesting. And we, try to keep an even amount. I mean, ideally, I'd like to see the number 750 every year.
Yeah.
We're
But-
building up, in my first year, we had 90,000. So to get all the way there at once was very hard, given other pressures. But we're now, last year, we were approved at 510, so we've gotten to a better place.
And it was a request of the Board of Finance that we spread it out like that and not front load it. You know, they really wanted to see it kind of stable over a number of years. So,
And then debt service on the school is supposed to decrease over the next 10 years or so.
Yes.
Do you see the town clawing that money back from the education budget or?
Well, no, because I mean, this is, while it's in the education budget, it is a community obligation. Like you could say it's town debt or school debt. It really is, it's coming from the community as a whole. This would have been an increase if we hadn't received over $1 million in the funds coming back from the 2010 Meeting House project. So we saw a reduction for this year in debt service for the education, which is great. But it's going to keep, now we're going to start to see the decrease after this year.
Yeah, I said, no, are you going to hold? Like, does this number now go down $1 million or does,
Which number?
whatever the total 52 million or whatever it is? If we get $1 million back in debt service,
Once
It's
the
not-
debt's paid off, or does that mean that we just have that much less of a budget?
Yes.
or do you still get all that money that we're paying in taxes and you just don't have to do?
No, it would be,
they're unrelated to our educational budget. Is that what you're asking? Like the debt
Yeah.
service is unrelated, like our educational budget is gonna just keep kind of going up.
Yeah.
You know, by depending on contractual increases in
Okay,
need,
now I
right?
understand.
Yeah,
so that's why breaking this up in the 4 areas, operating, capital, and debt service and medical gives you a sense. So operating, you have your contractual increases, which you'll see that number increasing. Like you said, capital, trying to stay at that same level each year, keeping it constant. Debt, that number should start to go down now after this year. Medical, you know, it really depends on usage. We're self-funded. So that's sort of where we are.
Totally off, sort of, just because I know it's a sticking point, but why? Is there any negotiations so that for Sherman people, for the schools to get any of it, like, why does the town get all of it? And I'm sorry if I know that there's something there, but I
I
just,
think it's just, that's
That's
the
just
way
the
it's been.
default.
That's the way it's been.
okay,
and it's revenue, and we're not in the business of taking in revenue, right? So
right.
However, it can pass through, like they could pass it
Like-
through.
it'd be nice if we could offset our cost of
Mm.
transportation with it, which we
Right.
talked about a little bit last year. But yeah, it does go right to the town. It is kind of a, you know, something that's kind of, there's something there, yeah.
Right.
So-
Because if it was lower our percentage, right? I think some people in this town, it would be easier for them to be like, okay, well, I live in the town, so I have to pay that. Because everyone comes out like, I don't have kids in there anymore. They forget that they had kids in the school last year, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, all of a sudden, because your kids
So
are not
that-
there anymore.
So if that $500,000 this year
Mhm.
were to come over to the school side and reduce our budget, the town's budget would
Right.
increase for that loss of revenue, even though the bottom line doesn't change.
That's fine,
And then
right?
when
But I
people,
think
when people get mad.
presentation,
Presentations.
right, presentation is one, thing, right? So, because you present yours, they present theirs, and then everything goes together. But most people understand that, but some people get stuck.
It's the
And it's
same
like-
day I was referring to
Right,
earlier.
Stuck, and it's like the education budget, like, they get stuck on that. And it's like, no, we're all gonna just pay one tax bill, like, I'm not writing a check but, you know, refer for Board of Ed and writing a separate check for refer for Board of Select, I'm writing one check, right?
Right.
People get stuck. So they'll
But
come
optics-
Pay for the education.
Optics will matter though, because in the, like, when you go to the referendum, you're voting for a town budget, you're voting for an education budget.
Yeah, but they both have to pass. if
They
we're
both
gonna-
have to
yeah,
pass.
Right.
So.
But if the, you know, if one doesn't pass and the other does, well, the reduction that ensues is probably coming from the one that doesn't pass.
Right.
So that's where those optics and maybe
Right.
some of the politics comes into play. I'm optimistic. I think we're well positioned. I think, you know, that, we'll get some good questions and, I think, like I said, if there is a significant chunk to this budget, we, you know, we really will need to hear voices.
So the Board of Ed the Board of Finance has been coming to Board of Ed meetings somewhat on a
Yes, they have
regular.
a liaison.
Have they given you your list of questions already?
No, I haven't done it.
It normally
Usually
starts
starts-
after
it starts
Saturday.
next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, then we'll have a Google Doc and they'll ask us questions
Yeah,
and we'll respond.
Has everyone been going?
Hmm?
to the Board of Ed?
No, just one or two.
There's
You see-
three.
Yeah, one, you know, you see-
I think there's one static and then some people pop in now.
Yeah, it's been good.
Yeah.
It's better than, that's a change from the past.
I'll just say that I think it's gonna be important to, like, after they do their presentation on Saturday, like that first Board of Finance meeting, to at least like. Cause if you can't attend them, you can always stream it, right? You won't be able to talk or like ask questions, but you can stream every meeting that's going on live. So it'd just be good to hear what they have to say at that point, and then maybe figure out if we do need to
Yeah,
do something, or we need to start getting the word out, you know what I mean?
see what the key.
Right.
Are there any
It's
issues?
stuff they're saying, right.
Yeah.
I think
Any-
that first meeting, we should all kind of pay
I'm
attention.
gonna end this here.
Sure.
Is that okay?
Yes. Any advice for this process?
Thank you. We're gonna post this.
Yeah, you could take that PDF, that presentation.
And we can post that too.